Hi, Kendra. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Queen. How are you?
Good. You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you always look
Thank
gorgeous?
you. Thanks. Back at you. Thank you so much for joining the Mommy Business Podcast. I am so happy to have you on today.
I'm super excited to be here with you.
This is going to be good conversation. I already know it.
Absolutely. Always positive vibes.
That's right. That's right. Do you mind telling the audience a little bit about you, your background?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Kendra Hall. I am an author, a speaker, a survivor. And what I love to do is to educate our youth and about what's really happening out in the world so they can be on guard as well as be prepared. So I love to educate critical thinking skills, getting those up and running for our youth is imperative to me. So that's really what I do is I'm here to educate.
I love that. I love that. And it's so funny. And I was just about to say that. She just took it out of my mouth. Especially for our youth, because, I think nowadays with social media, sometimes the youth, they get confused about life. And they think everything is how it looks on IG or Snapchat, all these other social media platforms. And I'm like, it's a great thing that as adults, we learn and we give back and we, teach them, say, hey, not everything is peaches and cream, but you have to, stay the course and stay throughout the process. So,
Exactly. Keeping that course clean is what it's about and not being distracted. I think it's, in a world full of distractions, it's very hard to stay focused if you don't have a clear direction as to where you want to go. So
That's so
that's another thing is that I love to do is to develop the direction, help to pull out what's already inside because sometimes we just need someone to give us a little bit of a fine tuning in essence to be able to get us over that hump to see that vision. So
yes.
that's key.
amen. We need someone to help guide us a little bit. So, yes.
Absolutely.
What inspired you to go into business for yourself?
What inspired me to, actually, I've been in business for myself back and forth since I was very, very young. In
Mm,
essence, just doing different things for, just to stay afloat. So, even I would even jump back to even when I was a teenager. I was doing MLMs, multi-level marketing business. I had multi-level marketing businesses. Amway, I don't know if you remember that.
as a
And it's still
teenager,
going
that's
on.
cool. Yeah.
So yeah, so I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me. But what made me go to this particular field of self-help was just my why, my story. I've been out on my own since I was 13. I had my first child at 14, three kids by 18. So I have a different life outlook, and I'm a grandmother now too.
Mm,
So
She's a glam mom.
So, for me, I have a and my oldest, my three boys, they're in their 20s, they're men now. So, I'm in a different mindset, a different life place. And so it's time for me to give back on in this particular way. God has called me to share my story, to share how to overcome obstacles that I've been through. And so when that calling comes on to your life, there's nothing you can do to stop it. You have to go with it
that's
because
right.
otherwise you'll be tortured and God's not going to allow it
Yes.
to whereas you have to push that out and give birth to that hope for others to know that they can follow in in the way that they should go biblically
Yes.
and that it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's I was called to be here. So that's why I'm here.
I love that. And like you said, if you try to stray away from it, that's when you find yourself being unhappy in life, being confused about, hey, what's my purpose? What's my goal? And it's like, listen, I already given you your goal and your purpose. You just have to follow through. So,
I appreciate
Execute. You
that.
have to execute.
yes, yes. So, and I know you're young. Like you said, you had your kids young. My mother also, she had me. My parents had me at a young age as well. They were 16 when they had me. So I always tell people, I was like, I feel like I grew up with my mom. So it was like seeing her mistakes, seeing her different struggles, as she was growing and developing to the woman, she is today. It's like I witnessed that growing up with her. So I can I feel like that grew me up a little bit faster too, because I'm like, I was celebrating things with her as well. So I think what was
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I love that you were able to, so you have a different connection to this story of
Mm-hmm.
survival of being the child of teen parents. And so I
Mm-hmm.
love that God put us together to be able to share
Yes.
notes in essence, because it is a different experience as a
Yes.
teen parent, and it's not something that I promote to become a teen parent. It's something that I don't I don't beat anyone down because that's a decision that they've made, or
Mm-hmm.
they find themselves in this situation as a teen parent. However, it's something that it shapes you in a different way
Yes.
when you go through that experience, when you're growing up with someone, regardless of whether or not they try their best as a teen, you're still a teenager.
right.
That's the thing that has to be left out, put out into the forefront, that it's still a child, taking care of a child.
Right, right. What is the hardest part of that, balancing that role as being a teen mom? And you're still a child trying to take care of a child yourself. So,
So, what I feel like is the thing that really is one of the hardest parts of being a teen parent is that you do not have the rights to do the things that you need to survive. It was extremely hard for me to find a housing. That was so hard for me continuously because I wasn't 18. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
have people sign for me to get apartments. I had
Mm-hmm.
to find. I found myself in situations because um, you have people who are over the age of 18, and they see your desperation, and they try to capitalize off of that. So I had to be very on guard as a young person for a lot of the predatory adults that were around, and they saw
Mm-hmm.
the need and they wanted to capitalize off of my expense, all my expense in essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the R. Kellys of the world in essence. And so that was very challenging for me, being a young person and finding myself in situations that I need help, but
Yeah.
there were some things that I was not willing to do to receive that help. And so that is where the hard part comes in, because you
Yeah.
can get some help maybe if you do the certain, something a little strange for some change,
Mm-hmm.
with some of these older men that approach you as a young woman out here
Mm-hmm.
on the world, a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just not something that I wanted to put myself in that situation. In addition to that, so beside the housing, the programs that were available, a lot of times if I wanted to get into a program, I had to get special consideration because I was underage.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself in a domestic violence shelter at 16, and I had to get special permission to go into that because of my age. So there were a lot of different programs that I needed as a teenager, but it was always some type of red tape because of my age. And the
Yes.
fact that I had children made things a lot more complicated.
yes. Yes. And because of that, what was maybe the number one thing or the main thing you would say that you kept in the back of your mind when you had all those different red tapes? It was like, I have to do this, I have to do it. And I know it probably was your kids, but anything else that really inspired you to just keep going and keep pushing and not give up and not fall into the trap of doing some strange things for a little change, Like what was that?
I would say it would be my upbringing. I grew up with both parents. My parents were married. I was a planned child, and I grew up in the upper middle class. I was afforded different luxuries in life as a young person prior to me being out on my own and, being put out by my parents when I got
Mm-hmm.
pregnant. So I have, I had already experienced life on a different scale. I had, by the time I had, and it sounds crazy in essence sometimes when I think about it, but by the time I had, was 13, I had done a lot of different, activities that allowed me to become somewhat well-rounded. So that
Mhm.
was very helpful for me to, I took professional acting lessons. I took professional music lessons. I
Oh,
was
wow.
the youth group leader, and I was in church Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, twice Sunday. I was the lead in the youth group choir. There were so many different things that I was doing. My parents had me in. My mother was now a retired educator. And
Mhm.
so I had school after school. I had to do reports with the encyclopedia and
You were
present
busy.
them to my parents, right? I
Yes.
was very busy so there was school on top of school. So that was very helpful for me because it allowed me to develop certain critical thinking skills and to be able to know how to research, which is
Yes.
huge, and understand the wording that of a lot of the documentation that I was given, because that's another thing. You don't know what you're signing, but you have to sign certain things. So,
Mhm.
as a young person, you're out on your own. You have to be able to know comprehension, how to be able to see what's in front of you, and not just tunnel vision, but look at things holistically. So I was able to, that was very helpful for me to be able to have those experiences early on, to be able to help me to live
Yes.
life a little bit, easier. As if plus on top of that, I was a straight A student. I was very much into school at the time, and I loved to research. So that was
Mhm.
very helpful. I always took my children to the library because I was always at the library. So there were
Mhm.
a lot of activities that I did with my kids that I had already. This is what I knew. I took my kids to the planetarium because I had just came
That's
from the
what you did.
planetarium, right?
Yep.
So education was still, it was on the forefront of my mind because that's what I had been immersed in. So
Yes.
that was very important to stay afloat.
I like that. I like that advice. And like you said, research and dig and find out things for your own. And don't take other people's advice. Go actually research it for yourself. So good advice.
I get up at 4 a.m. Each day, and
Awesome.
that's very helpful for me because
Mhm.
being an early riser, and I learned that as a teen parent because I had to get up early. I was used to being up in the middle of the night with three little boys. So for me, it's very helpful for me to stay on a schedule. I personally teach classes, virtual workout classes, Monday through Saturday,
Mhm.
6:30 a.m. to 7:15 a.m. And you were invited. You get in for free.
Yay. Look, and that's why you look so good. So I need to sign up for that.
Absolutely. And and it's great because we start off our class with affirmations. I handcraft the
Mhm.
affirmations each week, and we repeat them, 5 times. And then we go into our workout. We do our warm down, and that those times where I'm able to connect with uh, those who are online taking the
Mhm.
class, as well as to connect with myself doing the exercise, because I'm working out too. I'm not just kind of saying do
Mhm.
this, do that. Um, it makes a big difference with how I feel during the day, my energy level. And so that working out and getting up early is huge in terms of my self-care.
That matters, especially the mental exercise that you do before the physical workout. Yes, that's a win-win there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Queen. You already know it's so important to have your mental together, because if you don't have your mental together, everything else just kind of tumbles away. So, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things I speak life as we're working out. We're doing the jumping jacks, and I'm like, we are fit and healthy. So,
Yeah.
you know, we
Affirmation.
have
Yeah.
to. Yes, we
Yeah.
have to.
I
And
like
I
that.
actually have a new planner. I have a new planner and a new inspirational, and one of my inspirational is called Keeping Your Vibes High. And that's how important it is, for me to spread that word of keeping your vibes high and keeping yourself motivated, self-love, self-care. and is to express myself in writing and tell people, hey, it's time. If you haven't
Yeah,
jumped on the bandwagon of self-love, self-care, it is time, because we can't love, you can't love other people if you're not loving yourself. It's
that's right.
extremely hard.
That's right. And I love journaling. Like it is so refreshing. Like even when you have good days, your bad days, you write it all down and you go back and read those things. And I think, sometimes we look back over our lives and we're like, oh my God, I couldn't believe I made it out of that situation. And I go back and read some of my journals. I'm like, oh my goodness, I made it through that. I can definitely make it through this and I'm facing now. So I like that.
That's funny that you said that about about journaling, because I found one of my old diaries from like literally like 25 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, I was a teenager. I was like
Wow.
young
Just
teen,
your
and
mindset then.
my oh, let me tell. I felt like I felt weak. Like I felt weak. Like these were my words. Like I was like, I thought I was more mature in certain instances. And then I realized at certain times I was not. And then certain things I'm like, huh, I was smarter than I, thought at that age.
Mhm.
So, you really see how where you come from when you have those journals, and this could be an eye-opening experience. So definitely keep your journals and journal. I
Yes.
agree.
I love it. And then I always think about, I think that's something that we can leave behind for our kids, like generations to come. Like we're going to be gone, but they can actually read back through those things. They're like, wow, my grandmother, my great great grandmother made it through this. I can do it. So I think that's your personal book, life story within itself. So yeah.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. Another thing is, I encourage, I encourage my mom to do it, is to
Mhm.
start to speak into your, record yourself speaking about how you're feeling. So even if you can't write it, at least record it, and then you can always have it transcribed later.
I
There's so
like
many
it.
ways to have this put on paper, but at
Yeah,
least get it out. Don't
yeah,
stop it because you don't have your pad and paper. Just, get that feeling out, get those thoughts out, so you can pass this information down. It's all about legacy.
Yes, I love that. And we have a recording on our phone. So the only thing you have to do is just pull it out and talk on it. So yeah, great advice. I really like that.
Thank you.
Speaking of advice,
You're amazing, Queen. You already knew, and that's the thing. When you have that alignment, we have that alignment, then it's everything flows when the vibes are right, and we know that we're on that same level,
yes,
doing what we need to do to help the next person, as well as to have our self-care, self-love. And
yes.
it's again, each one teach one.
Teach
You
one.
live
I
by
love
that,
it.
you have a beautiful life.
and you have a beautiful soul. So I can feel it through here. So your energy is very positive. I love it. So, what advice would you give other young mothers that right now is struggling with family, business, life? What tips can you give them to really just help them out on that?
One of the things I say is to clearly identify what is going on in your life. And that takes us to the journaling. That takes us
Mhm.
to expressing yourself, getting the feelings and thoughts out of your head and putting them down to where you can look at them and to decipher what your next steps need to be. A lot
Mhm.
of I write in my book, Dropping Jewels, Guiding Principles to Help Girls Live Their Best Life. And I say that because it's a great guide to help you critically think out of situations. I have a chapter about being able to see out of a window, but not be able to get out the window.
Cool.
And we find ourselves in those situations where we can see out, but we just can't figure out how to get out of that window.
Mhm.
And so that's where it's imperative that you figure out what is stopping you. And you have to lay it out in front of you. You have to be able to clearly see what are the obstacles that are self-imposed and that are things that you can work around. And so I definitely encourage that journaling to think clearly and come to a different path, because that's all it is that this path may not be the perfect path, but there may be a
Mhm.
better path for you to take, and it just may be that one choice that has to be tweaked in order for you to get to your best life. So put your how you're feeling down on paper, put down, use some writing exercises that I have in any of my, I have 3 books. Please make sure that you take a look, purchase, utilize those exercises to be able to propel you forward and get you thinking introspectively, right? So you can be able to pour into your back into yourself and see what your next steps are, because it'll come to you once you're able
Mhm.
to think clearly. God will provide it for you. In addition is prayer. And so I definitely encourage that. I encourage you to pray and to work. Continue to do the things that are necessary for you to move forward, as well as to pray for in gratitude for what you currently have. That's another big thing. Sometimes we get wrapped up in what we don't have and we don't look at
Right.
what we have. And
Yes.
that's where we have to really root ourselves in gratitude. And once we're able to do that, we'll be able to see the forest through the trees.
Yes, I love that, especially the gratitude part, because I always think to myself, and I tell my younger cousins, I'm like, you're in a season of your life, and there's a reason that you're in that season. So try to embrace it. Try to figure out, okay, God, what is it you want out of me during this season of my life? And then that really will prepare you for the next season. And like you said, write things down. You have to, write your goals down, and spend time with yourself to get to know you a little bit better. So I love those tips. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Appreciate you. And I think that these tips are something that we just have to stay focused and
Mm-hmm.
know that everything works when we work. That faith
Yes.
without works is dead. We have to be able to do the work with prayer and be have the vision to see where we're going to be next, even though we may not feel like we're in that space now. Visualize the space where you'd like to be, so your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious mind can automatically focus on it and to really enact that law of attraction in your life and to be able to see the fruits of your labor. And I think that once you start to put things in place in perspective in that way, then life will open up in a totally different way and you'll be pleased with all of the good things that are happening. Things may be shaken up in certain areas, but
Mm-hmm.
that's such as life, ebbs and flows. But
Yes.
overall, you'll be satisfied that you have tried.
Good. Oh, we can end right there. Yeah, I love it. So, do you have any events or projects that's coming up that you would like to share with my listeners?
Absolutely. I am a board member for Urban Not Average, urbannnotaverage.com. Check them out. Donate. It's a youth sports nonprofit, empowering sports, youth sports nonprofit. And so we're having a urban link up where we have our youth coming out and staying with us for a weekend where we're educating, we're feeding, we're giving them a whole bunch of different jewels to leave
Mhm.
with as well from that amazing weekend coming up this month. So
Ooh.
definitely check out Urban Not Average. Donate. I have some fitness events coming soon, so stay tuned for that. That I put onto my page, Justice Jules, JUSTUS JEWELZ on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and Clubhouse. So check me out. I'm more active on Instagram, so check me out on there. And so definitely, there's so many great things happening in terms of classes and interviews, as well as I have been. I'm going to receive the Flowers Award, which I'm super super excited about. So
Yay!
yay! And that's coming up in July in Philadelphia. So make sure you get your
Yes.
tickets for the Flowers Award. Oh my gosh, I'm super, super excited about that. And check them out. I have definitely put them on my website, on my Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you check out the Flowers Awards. And definitely connect with me for a workout because
Yes.
that's what it's all about right now. You
Mm-hmm.
can definitely work out each day. If you purchase any of my books, I will give you the discount code and well, actually not even discount, a discount code, a free code where you can work out with me for the month for free and enjoy. I love to connect with you.
Thank you so much. Great, great, great. Guys, listen, make sure you follow Kendra Hall on IG and all of the other platforms that she's laid out on this lovely, lovely podcast. I mean, she is like a breath of fresh air. She has her book is amazing. I'm actually still going through it now. So a lot of great tips. I mean, you can pick it up, you can go into any chapter and just start reading it, and it's going to help you. So I definitely, want to say take advantage of that. And we all love free. So we want a free workout. So Thank you so much for joining the Mommy Business Podcast.
Thank you so much, Queen. I'm so thankful for you to have me and sending you light and love. You are such a beautiful, beautiful spirit. I appreciate you, gorgeous. And I will see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.